Well, hello everybody. Today's video is very much a case of, I thought you'd never ask. Specifically, well, I guess I hadn't actually considered it, but yeah. Basically, it's discussing spring jumping and actually kind of providing something of a tutorial of how to do it, because I realise I've discussed the tech a lot, but those tend to be in like videos where I'm trying to do something else and where I'm practicing or where I'm grinding for some reason, and that's not necessarily the best venue to just give someone introductory, okay, what is this, how do you do it? And someone basically mentioned this the other day and I was like, okay, let's do that. So first things first, I'm going to begin with the very basics. So spring jump, let's actually line myself up well. I can do it down here. Let's line myself up well for this. So spring jumping consists of three kind of sections. You have, let's actually aim this way. You have a point where your character jumps up. You have a short period of time where you're held in the air, and then you move downwards diagonally. The skill tree contains the information on those timings. I don't know them off the top of my head. I think it's like maybe 900ths of a second. Not 900ths of a second. That would be 9 seconds. Okay, no, ignore me. I thought I said 900ths of a second. Anyway, it's like 0.9 seconds. That's a lot easier and a lot more accurate of moving upwards than like 0.1 seconds being held in the air, and it doesn't really matter how long. I think maybe like 2 seconds of flight time. So just so you can see this, we're going to go up, held, and then down. And you saw there was a brief period there, hopefully you saw anyway, there's a brief period there where I was basically just floating in the air. It was short, but you might be able to see now. And there was that brief period where I was just held in the air. All three of those periods are quite important, and you kind of, well, specifically, a really easy mistake to make early on is to do something whilst you are in that state where you're held in the air, and that results in a failed spring jump. But to begin a lot more simply, what actually is a spring jump? How do you do it? Well, the central point is you go up, and okay, that was terrible. Let's do that again. There we are. I go up, and then somehow I'm managing to, you can see by where the, you can see that I'm managing to stop somehow before I hit the ground. And so the first key to spring jumping is, oh right, how do you do that? I first actually noticed this with this. I'm not 100% certain if I can get it first time. Oh yeah, there we are. So it turns out certain items have this little quirk. And how am I activating this? I'm not 100% certain if it's visible. Let's just check. No, you can't actually see, but the way I'm activating it is with a single attack. You can probably see that highlighting itself when I do the spring jump. Yeah, you can see that it does get highlighted, so you can tell I've just done a single attack there. And yeah, that's the basic principle of spring jumping. Wow, getting a bit of lag. That's the basic principle of spring jumping. Use spring shoes to get height, and you then hit Alt to cancel it. And you hit Alt to, have that landing whilst in the air. The issue is, of course, that by the time your spring shoes are actually off cooldown again, you've fallen back to the ground. If I were to try and chain this, it would look something like this. You can see I'm nowhere near. So it's at this stage where you might think, or it's this stage where we can start looking for, okay, how can we keep the player's character in the air for that little bit longer? One trick, which we can do, is if you see here, I'm going to walk off this edge, and I'm going to, if I time it correctly at any rate, let's just do it somewhere it starts lower, so I'd have to reset this file if I mess up. I'm just going to attack a few times as I'm in the air. There we are. I started attacking after I had left the ledge. You can go back and check that in slow motion if you want. But still, I was in the air and attacking, and you notice that those attacks slow me down. The reason they do this is because in LU, whenever you attack, a force is applied to your character, and this force, in the instance of most attacks, has the effect. I mean, that was made it a bit more obvious there. In the case of most attacks, it has this effect of slowing your player down. So we can maybe start to do this here. The issue is that for some reason, and I don't know what this reason is, the game will notice your first attack. When you're doing this with your fist, the game notices your first attack and doesn't do much. So you can cancel, and I'd recommend getting practice cancelling, and you can use this to make some distance. There you are. That kind of demonstrates. This is the only way of getting over the Forbidden Valley gates in Hardcore LU. It does use this trick because there you're just trying to cover a long distance. It doesn't actually. There's a fair amount of height you're able to lose, and therefore you can just do something like this. That was quite bad, but I'm going to put that down to FPS drops. But the point someone still stands, and you can check out my video on the Forbidden Valley, the Hardcore LU Forbidden Valley gate skip, if you're interested in that, if you're interested in seeing this applied there. And for ages, that was kind of the best I thought was available. I was wrong. Let's just give myself some more spring shoes. I think it's this. And let's go for... Okay. So, what I noticed is that you can then use, you can use a basic spear. You can add a basic spear to this, and then this does work for some reason. No idea why, but as you can see, those two there, roughly the same height. I'm not doing that brilliantly there, but you can see that suddenly it kind of becomes possible. Suddenly I'm able to stall out fairly effectively in the air. I'm going a bit slowly for some reason, I'm not certain why. Yeah, and you'll notice that there are certain instances, like just there, where you do fall down. I don't know what causes those. So, a little bit, now that I've kind of described how this came about, a little bit about the timings, because for ages I was pretty uncertain on these. So, specifically, we've got this notion that at a certain point you attack. However, this... I messed up. Actually, I kind of did mess up there, but actually for a different reason. Both of those I messed up for two different reasons than what I was planning on demonstrating. What happens is there are a couple of periods during which you can attack, and what happens depends on which period you're in. So when I'm doing a successful spring jump, I wait until the second after I start moving forwards, or like when I say the second after, I don't mean a single second. I mean as soon as I start moving forwards, I attempt to hit Alt. If you do this too early, if you do this whilst you're hanging in the air, unfortunately, it's even my muscle memory is going to be a little bit annoying at trying to get that timing right. But this fairly often happens if you just spam attack, which was how I used to do this. However, if you get it during your hang time, no, I'm instinctively waiting until I start moving. Which makes it hard to demonstrate. Okay, go. I hit it at enough points. But basically, well, I mean, actually, you saw it there. I did fall down. It wasn't the demonstration of falling down that I actually wanted to do, but you saw I did. And basically, the thing you'd normally expect to see is that your character will do this attack, and it won't. And you'll do it whilst moving forwards, and it won't cancel the ground. It won't cancel. I was going to say the ground pound. It won't cancel the spring shoe attack. So it'd be something like. No, I still can't get it. Annoying because this, or rather ironic because this was a problem I had for ages, and I couldn't. No, now I'm. No. Seems the timing for that is more precise than the timing for actually hitting a spring jump. But just so you know, that's what can go wrong if you just repeatedly spam it. Which is why I wouldn't recommend that as an actual method. Yeah, therefore what I'd recommend is the second you start moving forward, hit and spam Alt. And yes, sometimes you do drop down. I don't know why that is yet. The whole way this works is a little bit unclear. I have gotten some video evidence which suggests that what we have is a temporary physics object. When you attack, you cause a ground pound, and for some reason you get a temporary physics object being spawned directly beneath your feet when you finish a ground pound. We have some evidence for these in a couple of other places. That's just the theory there is for the moment. And basically that puts you back in a standing state where you're able to use spring shoots again. I guess I haven't actually discussed doing multiple spring jumps in a row. I've kind of just described how to do one spring jump, i.e. this, or described how to cancel a spring jump, like that, and then not described how to do multiple of them in a row. It is pretty much how you'd imagine. The way I do it is I hit. It's basically you need to stall out in the air by attacking until the ability comes off cooldown again, and then you need to hit the ability. The way I do that is spam attack until spam attack and spam 5. You don't actually need to wait for it to keep spamming all 3 of your attacks before you spam 5. There are some other things you'll notice, like that final attack I did there, or that final spring jump I did there, where I didn't actually move upwards for some reason. That, I, again, don't know what causes it. It's not really known at all at the moment, what causes that, how it works, but it's something which is particularly important in certain areas in the game. In particular, the Hardcore LU Forbidden Valley gate skip. There are certain areas in the game where, and that's one of them, where if you do use the spring shoes, you get this glitch where you don't move upwards, and it kind of just cancels your attack like right away before you've even moved, kind of as it did on the floor back there. The way you can get around this, at least in Forbidden Valley, is if you just step off the edge. Oops, that wasn't what I meant to do. It's not what I meant to do. That was just bad. I hit 5 instead of forwards. No, I hit Alt instead of forwards. Wow, and I'm not demonstrating this well. What you can do is basically the game basically gives you a small grace period. It's actually quite long when you walk off an edge, during which it doesn't realise you're in the air. If you walk off the edge, wow, my speech just went downhill there. If you walk off the edge in a certain way. In particular, the edge needs to be sharp, and you need to not hit a steep slope as you fall off. But if I demonstrate here, there we are. I was in the air by the time I used that ability. And I'm not certain why this is lagging out so much. It kind of makes it hard to demonstrate, but hopefully this describes roughly what's going on. The final thing I would note is that, yeah, I'm doing these reasonably well with the spear. I don't know. I've messed up, I need to relog. I don't know if this is just something if this is just something I'm getting placebo on, but I find it significantly easier to use Wu's staff for this. The reason I need to relog, however, is that there is subtlety to how you use Wu's staff here. Specifically, you need to use Wu's staff when you have no imagination, because for those of you who don't know, there's actually a kind of subtle thing in the game, which is that your DPS with certain items is reduced when you have imagination. Should go down to 0, nice. In particular, the reason why this occurs is the fact that the game basically waits to check whether or not, if you've got any item that has an imagination requiring charge up, the game waits for a short period of time before using that to charge up, before letting you attack, because it's checking whether or not you're charging up. Yeah, I don't know whether or not Wu's stuff is placebo, but let's just give this a go. Oh, that was what I intended to demo earlier, where when I hit Alt slightly too early, and I use a lunge attack like this whilst in the spring shoe attack animation. Didn't intend to demonstrate that there. That was intended to be a nice demonstration of look how good Sensei Wu's staff is. And yeah, note sometimes you get that drop down. Why that happens is unknown, but also why Sensei Wu's staff cancels the visual effect of the smash, unknown. The reason for the drop down, I have some guess as to. I suspect fairly strongly that it's related to the physics object, and specifically that might be related to you landing somehow on its edge, and rather than directly on top of it and then sliding off like that, because it seems to be something like that. What exactly it is, I have no idea. There's a lot of stuff about this which is up for research. Why does Sensei Wu's staff appear to behave differently to the spear? Why does the spear appear to behave differently to just attacking with your fists? We don't know. And precisely the mechanism. I'm relatively convinced we are spawning in a temporary physics object. I've got, as mentioned, some video evidence to demonstrate that, because I can actually, under certain circumstances, actually physically jump off of that object. Which strongly suggests that it is there. Something was resetting my jump, and basically the only thing that can do that is standing on the ground. So there has to have been some ground somewhere that I was standing on. Anyway, this is a basic summary of virtually everything I know regarding spring jumps, I think. Yeah, I think that's about it. Thank you all for watching. I've been Intro You. I'll see you around. Bye.